Well, the Supreme Court is set to rule on the cases of the Labour Party in its and its presidential candidate Peter Obi, and the People's Democratic Party (PDP) and its candidate as well, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, and the All Progressives Congress (APC) and its candidate Bola Tinubu today, being Thursday, October 26, 2023. Now, the PDP presidential candidate and his LP counterpart had filed appeals against the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal (PPT) verdict, which maintained Tinubu's electoral victory. Well, joining us virtually to discuss this, we have Great Emo, and we also have Alester Wilcox and John Akirili. All three men are public affairs commentators and journalists. Great John Emo, I beg your pardon, Great Emo and John Akirili, journalists as well. All right, so first off, let me start with Alester on this one. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning to you, Alester, Great, and John.
Yes, it's my pleasure.
All right then, Alester, let me start with you. What would you say? What should Nigerians be looking out for, as the Supreme Court rules on this case? What are the things, the technical things that Nigerians should, try to learn from whatever it is that the Supreme Court will rule on today?
Well, first, I'm not a lawyer, and I was wondering why you are sandwiching me before two distinguished journalists. Great Imo, I'm seeing for after a long time. Sandwiched between two journalists. But let me thank the Supreme Court for the expeditious action they are taking in dispatching this petition, so that Nigerians can get back their lives, because in the last 180 days plus another 60 after the election, Nigerians have been fixated at what's going to be the outcome, even though to some of us who are not even lawyers, we knew from onset that what was being taken to the court is rather a ridiculous, very ridiculous, but because lawyers have a way of technicalities and not thinking the way we think from the outside world, we also allow them to carry on their gymnastic and shenanigans and showmanship, most times wasting the time of the people, inciting the people, making them happy and dashing their hopes. Today, I don't expect anything too different from what the presidential appeal, the first court of instance, which is the appeal court that handled the petitions. I don't expect anything significantly different. Most Nigerians will not expect that. If it comes out of the blues, because the judgment of the vis-a-vis what the litigants are asking for, I sincerely, I cannot place any, because lots of contradictions, lots of things, lots of back and forth. So just as my opening salvo, I wouldn't expect anything significantly different from what the appeal court has done. And then with the speed within which they want to dispatch this appeal, it's just like what happened in 2019, when they didn't even hear the appeal. They just saw the papers and they dismissed it. So I will expect a similar treatment to this obnoxious and watery appeal taken to the Supreme Court.
You called it watery. Okay, great. Now, Alester calls it a watery appeal. What's your take on it, really? Great.
Moses, are you asking me to intervene?
Yes, please.
Okay. Let me start by encouraging us to. We are joining virtually. I will encourage us that once any member, any other person is speaking, we should just mute our mics, because I'm getting some echo here, but it's okay now. Let me start by saying that today, what the Supreme Court is on trial Nigeria's democracy is on trial. You know, democracy in Nigeria is on trial. The moral rectitude of our nation is on trial. I know that sometimes we, like somebody says in our local parlance, they play too much. We don't take these things seriously. But today, our nation is on trial because the things, the decisions we make at a point in time like this determine how the nations out there see us as a people, because today our collective value as a people is on trial. Today, whatever be the outcome of a judgment, the world wants to see exactly what we believe. We are fundamentally endorsing what our value systems are and making it a global knowledge. Whether those who, the electoral body can conduct an election where it can come to the tribunal and 18,000 polling units of its own results, it cannot account for what the result in it means. Whether we can have, you know, an electoral contest where those who conducted the election themselves cannot say in reality in various parts of the country who got what. In a country where electoral officers like INEC officials in Imo State were on live television during the day of election saying, we are the officials, the electoral officials who are supposed to conduct election in so and so and so and so local government, and we are here to let the world know that we were not given any material, we were not deployed, we did not conduct any election, yet there was result, and you went to court, and the court is asking you to prove what was in the public domain. But let me say something funny. When we talk about, you know, the law, as a student of law, I read law as a borrow course. Introduction to law, they will tell you there are two schools of thought, the moralists and the legalists. And the legalists actually borrow their legs from the moralists in the sense that it is mores from the society that becomes the laws in the society, in the sense that what becomes law in the society where the things that people have seen that are abhorrent to the growth and development of society, and they need to mitigate upon them, they begin to legislate upon them so that there are rules that are established. And now we have, even to the extent that in Nigeria, that we have a court that tells you that somebody who has done double nomination, for example, that he has no intention of doing it. Somebody who committed a crime, he is not even the one saying that I have no intention. It is the court that is not telling you that he has no intention. We have a situation in Nigeria where somebody who has been convicted for drug trafficking and money laundering in an open court in America, we are saying because he can travel and come back, therefore it did not happen. Look, let me say this, I did not say those things to say I know what the outcome of the judgment will be. In fact, we'll say we know. Because like Alesta said, we do the play in Nigeria. He didn't say that way. He assumed that the outcome is already known. I too want to assume that the outcome is already known. But the outcome that is known, we know that in this country, the current Senate president ran for presidency. He went to run for primary of APC, where he never picked a form for the Senate of the APC in his locality. After failing, despite the electoral law of 2022, which says you cannot be a candidate in two different elections in one election cycle. Dave Umahi and many other people. And let's stop shaking your head, please. I'm going to say something. These are the moral rectitude that we lack to move this nation forward. We adopt sin and make them truth. We adopt lies and make them truth. We know that is outside our interests, political, religious, and tribal or business. We know the truth. Even our conscience judges us. But today, I will tell you that the Nigerian legal system, that the Supreme Court of Nigeria, that says that the man who hold the APC ticket and Action Alliance ticket in Imo State, that he was disqualified for double nomination. And yet another person who was supposed to hold the APC ticket was declared governor when he was number 4 in the election. That Supreme Court, I don't expect anything from him. In fact, by now, Nigerians should begin to make register of these judges for posterity's sake. We should know these characters that have helped to undermine this society, because this is the history and the trajectory of our nation. But what we fail to know is that integrity is an intangible asset of a nation. When we were doing it, we think we are playing, but we keep undermining our country, because this is how out there the countries of the world see individual of us who endorse these things as a norm. And to conclude by saying that, well, whatever be the outcome, most Nigerians don't expect anything, because you see already at the Supreme Court, one of the Supreme Court judges is already shouting unity, unity of the nation, unity of the nation. And another one is asking you, before the court, the letter that was presented to him, and they cut the position under oath from the United States of America, he's asking you which of them is superior. And when you begin to hear such a thing, you just know that you are in a la land. Please, I don't expect anything different. But I'm expecting to say to us today that the society will undermine, will come back.
Sorry, please. I'm not running this show for you, sir. I think time is of essence, and in television, time. So giving one person almost 16 minutes to talk, he wouldn't get, the other man has not spoken, and we've not had rejoined that. So let's moderate it properly, sir. I will have spoken I can speak for 1 hour. But I know that my colleagues are there and time is of essence, sir. I'm not moderating for you, so please.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Alesta. John, now let's come to John now. John, you've heard the opening thoughts of the other guests. Do you think that the social media outcry by Nigerians, what has played out on social media, will in any way, influence the judgment? Will the judges feel, okay, this is what the people are saying, can we look at this thing critically and ensure that our ruling will uplift the nation indeed?
Very much, and good morning to other guests on the panel. Good morning to viewers all over the globe. Moses, for me, I would not say it is over until I get the judgment, which will come later today from the Supreme Court. And I will not be here preempting the court or the judges.
You know how it will play out.
No. The point is this. The court most of the time does not really rule based on sentiment or emotions. The court rules based on facts, evidences, and figures presented before the bench. But most of the time, I see the reason why some of our panelists are always in this line of argument is because most of the judgments that we have seen in our own jurisprudence have not really shown transparency and justice as to the issues on ground. Mind you, Moses, we have the public opinion, which is the court of public opinion, and most of the time we always see that things do not go in line of public opinion. Rather, it goes in terms of evidence presented before the court. So in this case, the greats has given us so many scenarios where Supreme Court have, undermined our democracy. And but for me, on this case of Obi, Atiku, and Tinubu, I just want to ask Supreme Court some critical questions. They can take a clue from the case of the P.I.&D. and they can see how judgment was served, not based on technicalities, but based on facts that was presented. And some of these facts have been, are in that disposition. And Moses, when we talk about these things, it's just because How will the registrar and the students of CSU look at Nigerian students in that school today? Do you know the kind of labeling Nigerians have all over the world now because of this issue of certificate saga? And so that's why for us, going beyond the Supreme Court judgment is that for us, let us be sane in the global standing. And I hope that the Supreme Court judges will look at these issues holistically and understand the fact that we need to set this country right on the right path based on evidence presented before the court. And whatever the case might be, either for Tinubu or against Tinubu, my point is to all that we have a country called Nigeria, and Nigeria is for all of us. And the more we understand that together we can build this country, build a nation, and make it work for us, the better for us as a people. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So, Alexa, this question is for you. Knowing very well that, I want to ask, how significant is this outcome of this case for Nigerian politics? John mentioned and said, how will Nigerians be seen? Nigerians abroad, Nigerians in Nigeria, and all over the globe. So I want to know, I'm asking you, Alexa, how significant do you think the outcome of this case is for Nigerian politics and Nigerians in general as well?
Well, Alexa, the mic has come to you now, and it's expected that you will speak at this point.
Sorry. I'm saying this, that I'm totally disappointed at my friend Great Imo.
Alexa, can you please?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yes. I said I'm totally disappointed as my friend Great Imo.
Are you trying to answer
for
the
coming
question?
to lampoon the judges of the Supreme Court? They are not my friends. I don't know any of them. And because they have had so much, especially from the Obi camp, they have had so much misconception of what transpired on during the election, with so much hope that is based on nothing, on no facts, on no pathway. They've had this hope, and they believe that hope will translate automatically to their whims and caprices. So they now choose to rubbish and run down everything that is Nigeria, which for me is the greatest of all misfortune about us as Nigerians. Look, election petitions, I've started for election petitions since 1979. I was a very small boy. And I can tell you this, is that statement of Justice Anyaregu of the Court of Appeal against Obafemi Awolowo versus Shagari. I can quote exactly what their conclusions were. Remember the 12 to 3 saga? I can quote for you the exact words of some of the judges in that issue. I can tell you most of the results of election tribunals, even up to 2019. You see, when people put nothing on nothing, and you expect a result. Look, one of the judges of the Court of Appeal said this. He said, "Do these people want us to go to the marketplace and fish for evidence for them?" A judge would always, if a judge goes contrary to the evidence first to your pleading, has Great Imo taken time off to read the pleadings of Mr. Obi and Mr. Atiku, and then the evidence adduced to those pleadings? It's not a moral context. If you want morality, go to church. We are talking about legality, and the court cannot do anything outside legality. Why did O.J. Simpson got acquitted in a murder case that everyone knew that he murdered his wife? How did he get acquitted? How many cases in the UK and other places have they get acquitted for want of evidence and pleadings? You see, in this country we play too much, and that's why social media, instead of helping us, it has built. As far as Mr. Great is concerned, Mr. Tinubu is guilty of certificate forgery. That's what he's saying. Meanwhile, there is nothing before the court, and one of the judges asked, which of them are we taking? There's a letter here saying that the certificate is authentic. You are bringing a disposition that was not tested in court. You didn't test it. If you are being accused, and the next thing you are being condemned and jailed without evidence without opportunity of you testing that evidence, how will you feel? Now, we keep using the word Nigeria is not on trial. Nigeria is not on trial. Nigerians are not on trial, except you want to put yourself on trial. Nobody in the world is trying Nigeria, except what you release on social media and the classification you are giving Nigeria that is making Nigeria to be, to yourself and your eggheads to be on trial. Our Supreme Court is not on trial. Look, there was a time Justice Mary Odili led a panel that robbed somebody from Bayelsa. The man had a day to be sworn in. And Justice Mary Odili and four others ruled on the eve of it that the man should not be sworn in. Heaven didn't fall. Great Imo didn't come up and lampoon justice and lampoon the Supreme Court.
I will hate to interrupt you.
So there are so many things that decisions are based on evidence and pleading. Evidence and pleading, not sentiment, not social media, not what you think.
With your language, Alesta, I will hate to interrupt you. I would like for you to put out your thoughts, of course. But please, let's be mindful. Calling people eggheads, that's a derogatory statement. I would like for you to take that back, please. Now, it's okay to have a different view. It's absolutely okay. But let's not attack the personalities on the program, and let's not use words like egghead. Thank you very much.
Sorry for that statement.
All right, then. Let me come to you now, Great Imo. Now, you have a background in law, all right? So respond to what Alesta has said in terms of the court of law, you know, the deciding on how you test a deposition before you accept it.
Okay. Thank you very much. I thank you for also moderating this meeting because I think the questions you asked Alesta was straight. It is not. We are not making a personal decision. It's not personal. We're dealing with issues here, and I wanted to be taken on record. For example, I made references to issues of law. I mentioned Electoral Law 2022, which says that no one individual can participate in two different elections or contest for two different positions within one election cycle. He did not counter me on that. That's a position of law. I mentioned that at the tribunal level, at the trial level, that one of the things that was sought for interpretation was the issue of double nomination, within which number of days should a candidate withdraw his nomination for another position and go for another position. The official correspondence were there, and they are called CTC, court certified true documents. And then when we started talking about this, we're not making it personal. And the issue was that issues before us, and he's talking about law. It's not sentiment. I'm talking about law. Within the law, I say direct law as a borough course. One of the things you establish in law, there are canons of interpretation. One of them is literary interpretation. What is literally written in the document. The other one is the rule, the golden rule. What is the spirit of the law? What is the problem that law is supposed to solve? When you can't get it on that literary point of view, you ask yourself, if there's any tinge of confusion, why was this law established? Number one, why the law talks about forgery is to establish that people who have dented characters will not be found in government. Whichever way you want to interpret, every other thing can be now technically found or literally found. Now, if we are talking about the court deposition, yes, it's something new. But from ab initio, it has even long been established by 1999 that we are looking at a character who gave to INEC a document where he established that he went to Government College Ibadan and another primary school in question. All of these were later found to be false. Yes, we went through the court, and the court says as of that time he had immunity. It's not about one individual. It is not about Obi. It's not about Atiku. We are coming. Somebody said Nigeria is not on trial. We are joking. What were you doing in the CPC in the court of Illinois? Where our value is being tested here. And you can't say that what we are talking about is based on emotion. I just told you about the Akpabio, Dave Umahi, and you said their emotions. There are things that happened before. I just mentioned about Hope Uzodinma. You said their emotion. Up till tomorrow, the Supreme Court has not been able to rescue itself on that judgment because it has no ground to stand on. So when we say these things, we are playing too much. It is about our country, and nobody should tell us that we're not on trial. We are, because this we went to case in UK court, P and ID case. What was it all about? About how Nigerian individuals corruptly connived with their foreign counterpart. Who knew that it can only happen in Nigeria to want to defraud Nigeria of $11 billion? So we are not taking it personal, and I don't like it that these national issues are not being discussed and people are making it personal. And I've quoted the laws, I've referred to everything. So whatever that is before the Supreme Court judge today will be determined by them. But you don't need to tell Nigerians when they read a simple English that they don't understand. That Nigerians are fools, that we really need to wait to court before we can understand constitution. I've even challenged a lawyer before that in a court of law, an individual can defend himself whether you're a lawyer or not, and that is the law. So don't tell someone who understands common English that he does not know what the law says. Thank you.
All right then. Thank you very
so
much.
Great,
great email. Let's come to John now.
So John, I want to ask, what potential impact could the judgment have on the political careers of Obi and then Atiku and Tinubu, whatever the case may be today? What do you think the political impact would be on them after this judgment, on their careers?
Mute your mic. Alexa, please mute your mic so I can hear. Is echoing. Can you please repeat the question again? Thank you.
I said, whatever the case may be today, what's the potential impact that this judgment could have on the political careers of Obi, Atiku, and Tinubu? Whatever the case may be today, what do you think will be the impact on their political career?
I think whatever the case may be, it's just a political statement to all contestants, because after this case, Nigeria will still remain Nigeria. We'll see another election come 2027. So it will just be a lesson, to look at. It's just like an examination. When you pass an exam, you have done well. When you fail an exam, you go back to your past questions and look at some of the areas where you have made errors and how to correct yourself so that when you sit for the exam the next time, you can pass. So I think for all of them, Tinubu, Atiku, and Obi, will be a period of lesson learned from them, and will also be able to look at issue of technicalities and how they can, knock out every form of technicalities that must have been coming up in those issues from time of nomination to the times of document to be submitted to INEC, to electioneering processing and all of that. So I think for us, it's a developing story that will help our democracy become stronger. And then that will also need for us to push more for an amendment of the Electoral Act, because we've seen now that the Electoral Act 2022, although is a very good document, but we have seen some loopholes, and our politicians are, taking advantage of those loopholes in the Electoral Act 2022. So one of which we get from here is that we will need to have an amendment to that constitution. Also, we need to also look at our 1999 constitution to see that there are so many loopholes that our political class are taking advantage of. And at the end of the day, when two gladiators fight, the grasses suffers. And that is my point to all of us here. When our political class have all of these issues, how does it affect the exchange rate of dollar to naira? As I speak to you today, dollar is over 1,250. How does that affect our economy? How does that bring food to the average man on the street of Lagos, Ibadan, Akure, Osogbo, Oyo, or even in Abuja? How will it create jobs for our young youth population that are unemployed? How will it increase our GDP? So these are questions we should be asking, and that's why for us as people, we should not relent no matter the outcome of this Supreme Court judgment, but rather we should keep hope alive as Nigerians and work together to build a better future for all of us.
With us, we still have other stories to follow up here. And then up next on Voice of the People this morning, court pursuit of audited financial statements of all registered political parties in the country. Details in a moment.